Okay. Oh shit. You have a napkin? God. Spilling coffee on my computer. Oh god, it's like right in the speakers too. So video or movies, either from a digital medium or a physical medium, are just a series of still pictures. So our brain recognizes these still images that are flashing across the screen as movement. It gives that illusion of motion. And 24 frames per second is actually the cinema standard. When you whip your head from side to side, you see motion blur, naturally. Because that's basically what our brain does to prevent it from being overwhelmed with this onslaught of visual information. So when a movie is shot in 24 frames per second, it replicates that kind of motion blur. It looks natural, it looks cinematic, and it looks like what we've come to expect from the movies. Higher frame rates pack more information into a single second of footage, and it looks weird, personally. I think it looks too fluid, a little bit too crisp, and a little bit too hyper-realistic. It's not what our brains have come to expect from cinema, and if you're going to use it, you have to recognize that you should be doing it for a particular purpose. If you want to shoot something at a higher frame rate, it's probably because you want to produce smooth slow motion. If you slow down footage that was shot in 24 frames per second, you're going to get a jittery mess of weird looking slow motion. If you take something that was shot in 60 frames per second, you have more information packed into that single second of footage that you can then slow down in post. Say 60 frames per second, if you slow that down 40%, you get 24 frame per second equivalent, and you get buttery smooth slow motion that looks still cinematic to our brains. Keep in mind, shooting at higher frame rates is going to take up more space on your card. It's literally more information that your camera is taking in per second, so it's going to be a bigger file. However, if you do change your frame rate, if you're shooting slow motion for a particular sequence, you have to change your shutter speed. This is because of the 180-degree shutter rule. And to learn more about that, you can check out my video on shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. So to recap, frame rate is really important. So there should be a reason behind whatever frame rate you choose to shoot your video in, and it should be one of the first things that you think about when you're deciding on what you're shooting. Your frame rate is your friend, and knowing about different frame rates will help you be better equipped to shoot the video the way you want and tell your story the way you think it's best told. Thanks for watching.